I really like this music. It's very Christmassy. Now, Christmas might have been a long time ago, but we've got some fun Christmas movie music to play today that you might recognize. And I think it'll help us as we tell our story today. For a few weeks now, we've been talking about God's big story. God made the world, but people turned away from God and the world was broken. Still, God had a plan to make things right. At the right time, God sent Jesus to be born in Bethlehem. Jesus began to grow up, and today's story took place when he was 12 years old. Every year, Jesus and his family joined other Jewish people traveling to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover feast. When Jesus was 12, they made the trip just like they did every other year. The trip would have taken at least 4 to 5 days. They didn't have any cars or planes or trains or any of that. I don't know about you, but when my family travels, it's always a bit of a big deal. We're usually running late, and there are so many things that you need to remember to pack that it's sometimes hard to get it all together. Now, I don't know if it was stressful for Jesus' family to get going as it is for mine, but who knows? Maybe their trip might have looked a little something like this. When Jesus and his family got to the city, they likely stayed with family or friends to celebrate for the entire week. They would have shared a special meal together on the last evening and remembered how God had rescued the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. This trip and this celebration would have been a big deal to Jesus and his family and other Jewish people. After the feast was over, Jesus' family packed up and headed home. And again, this would have been a big group of people who traveled together, so they must have had a lot of stuff to pack and organize, and there were kids running all over the place, and it would have been really hard to keep track of all of them. Once they got all of that all straightened out, they were on their way. With all the excitement and busyness of getting ready to leave, and since they were all traveling as a big, gigantic group, Mary and Joseph traveled for an entire day before they realized that Jesus wasn't even there. He was still all the way back in Jerusalem. I bet you can imagine what happened next. Right away, they freaked out and they headed back to the city to find Jesus. Mary and Joseph got back to Jerusalem as quickly as they possibly could, and they began to look everywhere for Jesus. After 3 days, they finally found Jesus in the temple courtyard. He was sitting with the teachers, listening and asking questions. Everyone was amazed at how much he understood. Mary then said to Jesus, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been worried about you, and we have been looking for you everywhere." "Why were you looking for me?" Jesus asked. "Didn't you know that I had to be in my Father's house?" Jesus then returned home to Nazareth, this time with his parents, and he obeyed them. Mary was amazed at everything that had happened, and she kept it all in her heart like a secret treasure. When we look at this story today, we can see how Jesus was already working towards what God had sent him to earth to do. Jesus knew that the most important thing he could possibly do was get to know God better. That's why he stayed behind to talk with the teachers in the temple. And listen to this, as Jesus grew up, he became wiser and stronger. He also became more and more pleasing to God and to people. Here's what we need to remember today. Knowing God is the most important thing.